Thanks, Crystal. Sweet. All right, guys. Hey, thanks for joining. I see a few of us out there, and I really appreciate you popping in here. Do me a favor. If you are with us and you're joining us today, go ahead and type in and know that at any point, hey, Nikki, know that at any point you can absolutely put in a comment or question of curiosity, and I'm happy to answer those for you as we get going today. So today we're going to be talking about advertising. Now, here's my big thing that I've been standing on a lot lately is that as we are business owners, a lot of the times we begin to merge all of the conversations about business into one just conglomerated mess. And the reality is that if we really want to be great business people, we have to understand how we segregate each position or piece of our business so that then it can move in the direction of our goals, right? Because if I have just this like overly exhaustive list that I blend together, then there's some challenges. Today we're going to be talking specifically about advertising. Now, it is going to have a little bit of a roller coaster as far as what we're going to cover. And yet my biggest thing that I want to make sure I say right at the beginning is that advertising is not marketing, it's part of marketing. Advertising is not lead generation, it can be part of lead generation. Advertising is our ability to get our message out and continually get our message out to who we desire for our consumers. And so we're going to start having that conversation today. When I look at it, guys, I want to look at a few things for inspiration, a few things on how to. So as I'm finishing up this class, though, do know that I will go back and make sure these notes are put into the comments somewhere so that you guys can get linked to it and you can drag them out of it, because I know that not all of us are always prepared to take notes. So if you do have questions or comments, guys, by all means jump in there. Michael, hey, good morning, sir. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so this is the first thing I want to talk about. I guess I got to look at it this way. Be something you want to share. If we're talking about advertising, you want to be something you want to share. And here's the biggest thing that I think about when I look at advertising. Advertising just happens to us. And if we're looking at it in that vein, right? Advertising just happens to us. What are we doing to craft our business to happen to people? And that's what I'm looking at. Be something you want to share. And I think about it in this way. Great advertising happens in the grocery store right there while we're checking out. That is where some of the greatest advertising is happening, because it's attracting us and our attention, and it's showing us. It's like all the way that we experience things flooding our senses at one time. And so we're going to be attracted to the things that help drive us. And so in my mind, if I'm looking at this and I'm going, how do I want to advertise my business to be successful and to gain the results that I want out of it? Well, then I'm going to be making sure that I am something that I want to share. I need to be something that I want to share with the world. It's not invited, and if it's true that it's not invited, then there is one driving factor that will help us always have a message that's worth being shared, and that is going to be in our, surprise, surprise, if you're with me at all in any kind of life stream, it is about mission, it's about vision, it's about values. There we go. It's about mission, vision, values. I want you to think about this. If I have clarity on my mission, vision, values, if I'm really looking at this, my mission is giving me, one, a cause. It sits on top of my cause. And two, it's giving me movement. Okay? If I'm looking at vision, vision is giving me that distant space to move towards. And values are all the things, the people, the places, the consumer, the employees, everything that I want. It's all those who are going with me. And so if I'm advertising, it's really easy for me to advertise in a way to attract the clients or the people that I want in my life, in my business, because I'm going to be much more satisfied if I'm actually attracting the people that I want. So if I'm looking at it and I'm advertising in this space and I have clarity on my mission, vision, values, the biggest piece of the puzzle is the values. I want you to think about that. If I have clarity on my values, and my values, it's a list of the characteristics or quality that I want to be portrayed as, and that I want people to be connected to me with. And if that is true, then when I advertise, I should be attracting my values. I want you to think about that again. If I am advertising, it should be attracting my values. That will make it easier for us to begin to craft our advertising elements. Is this collateral piece, would it attract the things that I value? And the answer is going to be yes or no. And if the answer is no, then you rework it, right? You begin to rework it. I think we get lost in not even the how to. I think we know how to create things. I think we get lost in the what to create, and the what to create starts in our mission, vision, value statement, because it's the alignment of our business, okay? So that's the very first thing out of the gate. Be something that you want to share. If we are advertising, we need to be something that we want to share. And I hope this makes sense to you guys. And I'd love to hear an amen. If you got any questions, comments, obviously drop them out there in the comment section. But this is key. This is our starting point. If you want to craft a very great marketing plan, and advertising is part of that marketing plan, you should have clarity around your mission, vision, and your values, okay? I will tell you right now, I'm going to be crafting my mission, vision, values content that I've created, the workshops that I do. I'm actually going to put them into 15-minute chunks because I'm so serious about wanting people to get clarity on that I need to make it easier and easier and easier for you guys to do. So just know that's coming soon down the pipeline. Okay, advertising. So if we really consider it and we look at advertising, there are jobs in advertising. If you went to an advertising agency, these are going to be the things that are 100% going to be jobs and jobs and characters inside of an advertising agency. So you're going to have somebody who is doing copywriting. A lot of us don't think about this. If we really want to understand advertising at a high level and use it in our business to gain the result that we want, we have to understand copywriting. Now, I will tell you, just hands down, 100%, I am a terrible copywriter. I am not a copywriter. I'm terrible at it. I have resources. My first resource is my wife. She helps me make sure that my grammar is good, my content makes sense, and then it's moving in the direction it has the voice that I want. Number two, I use Grammarly. I subscribe to Grammarly. I don't know where I missed the mark in 9th grade English and literature. I'm terrible at grammar. Terrible at grammar. Terrible. So I subscribe to that just so that it helps me understand and organize my content, because I still write a lot. Copywriting, there's 100% an art to it. If I were you and I don't understand what I just said, then there's two things. You need to either leverage it out completely or bring the training and the knowledge into your world to understand copywriting a little bit more intentional. Because just describing things in the words that we think they should be described as does not necessarily translate into a consumer resource. So we're going to be advertising. We need to look at this. And on this little section, you see I wrote copywriting, you or, fill in that blank for your leverage. You or, what will you be leveraging? I leverage my wife in Grammarly. I absolutely am terrible at copywriting. I don't try to pretend like I'm great at copywriting. Some of you are trying to pretend like you're great at copywriting, and you're not. And that's okay. That's not necessarily all of our skill sets. I'm actually very fond of people who can do this and do it well. So understand that copywriting is a really important aspect. Putting words into your advertising is absolutely necessary, and you need to do it in a way that is going to give you the best result. Art director. So art director is going to be the person who's visually taken this concept and moving it into the direction it needs to go. They are the visual director. Art director is visual director. You have to be able to have a concept of what you want to see come to fruition. There is a visual side of it. And you've got to make sure the elements that are visual are actually in line to what's happening. You see, I think when we get into this whole idea of marketing and advertising, we just think, I'll go to Canva and I'll just slap something together through a theme. And that's true, you can do that. But the intentionality, and why I want to talk about advertising in a little bit more of a segment, is that when we have the intentionality of advertising to move in the direction of our mission, vision, values, our businesses create a voice. And man, when we breathe life into our businesses and they are a voice and they are a message, it changes everything, right? You think about all the businesses that you would consider that have a voice, and look at their advertising, look at their sales funnel, look at the way in which they market just in general, right? I'm using some marketing specifics, but the marketing overall. Like, what do they look at? What is their customer experience? What is their operations? if you looked at all of those things, they're going to be very intentional on the way that they execute everything because of the clarity of their mission, vision, values. So art director, you've got to be able to have the visual direction. I know that this needs to look like this. If you don't have that skill set, I'm going to tell you one of the easiest things is to take your concept, think it through as best as you can, and Fiverr it. I think I'm going to spell Fiverr wrong. I think it's like this. Fiverr it. If you really, it's either you or slap it on Fiverr. Now, there's some other options. You can go out and find a resource, a vendor, or somebody who understands this at a much higher level. Get their information, get their curiosity. You could go to some of the places that have great design work, copy it, steal it, use it. But if you have challenges here, it's either going to be you. If you own your business, advertising is either going to be you or leverage. There are some ways to leverage it very inexpensive. Fiverr is essentially a network of people and artisans who are creating content for like $5, and they'll spit you out a design. You either like it or you don't like it, and you move on. But it costs you $5, less than a latte. Okay, so it's either going to be you or it's going to be somebody else. And one of the things that we need to understand is that as we begin to segment our business and it operates in its each channel that's necessary, then you have to be able to have the channels. And it's either going to be you or it's going to be somebody else. Do not be overwhelmed by this. Just put it into a system and let the processes move forward, okay? And I see your comment there, Nicole. That's funny. Can you hire? Probably, but yeah, I don't know. Yes, the answer is yes. I don't know. Creative director, all right? Creative director is taking the full concept of it and making sure that everything is laid out. And that's from words to pictures to movement to where is it going, how's it going to get there. They're making sure all of these little pieces are funneling together. So your creative director is almost the person who's like the chess player. He's looking at all of the elements that are moving at the same time and making sure they're staying organized. You, my friend, you are the creative director, or you've leveraged it. So it's you or you're leveraging your creative director. I will tell you this. One of the ways in which you can do this really easily and it stays as you is to start storyboarding your processes, your thoughts, your ideas. Because when you start storyboarding them, it helps you to align, this is my visual concept and this is how I want it to look at the end. So now you've got that storyboarded, and then think about your advertisement, if it's video or if it's photo or if it's any of the elements, put it in a timeline. What would it look like to execute each of these elements on time? And that's even in the design process to execution to where it goes, where it lands, and then the post-mortem about what it looked like. Put it all in a timeline. And if you can look at those two things simultaneously, you really have a grasp on what it means to be that creative director. And you can adjust it and tweak everybody who's touching that element of your advertisement as you move forward. So again, this is all things that you 100% as your business scales should be leveraged, and yet in the very beginning it should be you. And so how do we separate it so that you can do it at its best and create your voice within your business, okay? Graphics designer, this is real simple, real easy, and many of you are doing it again on your own. Use templates, use things that will help you leverage it. That's gonna be you. So the graphics designer, sorry, I'm gonna put this is storyboard and timeline. The graphics designer side of things, use your resources like Canva, use your resources like Spark Post, use the resources out there that are already there that are templated so that then you don't have to become a Photoshop whiz or any of those things. You can also, again, use the resources like Fiverr, Canva. You can use stuff like Spark, Adobe Spark. So use the stuff that's out there. Again, if this is not your magic spot, be okay with leveraging it. And Fiverr is really somewhere you can leverage it for free. Ask them to do your logos. Ask them to do some of your content. Ask them to do some of your templates. Create the space that you know that you can easily grab something and turn it into the advertising that has your voice with the clarity around your mission, vision, values. And the last thing to look at this is strategy. There's 100% a strategy department that's going to say, from concept to execution, where's it going and how's it going to get there? What's the return on that investment? What is the market saying? How should I appeal to the client? Here's the characteristics of my client that I want to be able to make sure this advertisement hits. If this is how it hits, then it should feel in line with the way that that person acts, reacts, or interacts with the business. I should know all of those things. It's the market research side of it. Now, again, this is all somewhat overkill if I'm especially running a small business where it may be me doing 1 or 2 widgets or transaction type of things every month. It feels like overkill. But if we look at what we want to do with our business and scale it up to be able to have that meaningful business, that life by design, this is absolutely going to be a department in your business, and it should absolutely be crafted the right way from the very start. And if you can, then it will help you cascade, man, to truly wherever you want. As we separate and segment the business and we systematize it, I mean, it really runs itself. And then I can be the person who is just gaining the happiness, the joy, the excitement, all the things that swirl around being a business owner versus being stressed out for working for myself versus having the business work for itself. Okay. Whole other topic for another day. So it doesn't cost a latte. Nice, Michael. Thank you for that. So it doesn't cost a latte. I can always appreciate some dad humor. Okay, guys, looking at strategy. So you're the strategist. Strategy, you're the strategizer. And I want you to really think, if I want to sell X, Y, and Z, where are those consumers? Which portion of that consumer do I want? How do they act and interact with like media? What media choice do I need to use? How long, how short, how simple, how complicated does it need to look? Where does it need to go? How long does it need to be there? These are all questions that I think we need to open up and unearth as we're creating these plans for our advertising, so that then the return on investment isn't just work harder. It's working hard with intentionality. And working hard with intentionality is an exponential factor in our world. Okay. So strategy. Now here's the deal. I'm going to tell you right now. At a certain point, this is a really high level leverage job. Many of us will never get to the point where we really need to hire a strategist in our business. We need to hire an advertising agency and let them take it over. But if you ever grow your business to the point of needing a strategist, like you really need to understand what that looks like and be very specific about who you're hiring. I will tell you that I think this should always be a you conversation. So you should be a student of the strategy that you want with your business and be educating yourself on what's happening. And the reason being is that the strategy person is really digging into all the data of the market, and that person needs to be you. You need to understand the market. You need to be the economist of choice for your business. Okay. All right. So here we go. Rolling through this thing pretty quickly, guys. And I appreciate you walking with me. Again, we'll take these notes and I'll dump them in. And then you guys can always go and grab this, make more sense of it. It'll help refresh your brain of where we went. Okay. Sweet. So here's the thing. I actually am borrowing some of this information from, I think, some of the most brilliant guys in the advertising world. I just happen to be able to sit in a class and listen to them have a conversation. I'm 100% grabbing a graphic from their world, and this is it. So it's Jeff Godby and Rich Silverstein, and they're brilliant. They are brilliant with it. And they have this concept of the insight, the idea, and the execution. And what I love, and let me go back and show you this real quick. What I love is this little deal here, right? Creating mass intimacy, okay? It's another way in which our mission, vision, values pops in. Creating mass intimacy. How can I take and create intimacy at a really intentional level with about a billion people, right? How can I reach as many people as I possibly can with a singular story that's creating this mass intimacy? How can I have a one-on-one with the masses? And so this is their little understanding and explanation of that. And it kind of starts at the bottom of the pyramid. You see the insight, then the idea, then the execution. And they say you've got to kind of understand each of these elements, the insight, the idea, and the execution. So if you start at the very bottom, it's really the why, right? It's the why. It's the universal truth. It's the cultural tension. It's the reason, right? So there's the why is a big piece of understanding all these elements. And then you move up a gear into the what. And the what is turning the insight into action. Now, not where it goes, but where it could go. What if we? So the what is really into that dream phase, right? So the why is going to be looking out across like the cultural, the universal truths, kind of that concept that you really want to see executed. The what is like, really it's an explanation of if I could do anything to get this message across, what would I do? And that becomes that brainstorming session. And then you take the best of those things and you put them into the how, which is whatever you make to physically communicate the idea. So what am I making to communicate this idea? And if you think about it, using real simple, like if I'm trying to sell this widget and I get into this space of I want to sell this widget and I want to understand like why. So where's the why in this whole space? Like what's happening in the world? What could it do? What problem could it solve? What joy could it bring? What's the real story behind all of this stuff? And then I move into the what. So I turn into the turning the insight into an action. Now where could it go? And I begin to unearth like, man, it would be neat if X, Y, and Z. It would be really neat if we could do this. It's a dream phase. It would be really neat. And then along those lines, you're probably going to be really enticed by a singular idea. And at that point, you take it into that next section of that how. And so you begin to think, what would be the best case scenario for physically creating this element? And when I say physical, you got to understand there's a sense of digital, physical, right? If I create a video, there's an experience with it. Like I'm either going to be experiencing it on a device. There's somewhere where it's going to be. It's not just a thought. It now becomes a reality, an activity, an action, a collateral piece, whatever it may be. So then I take it up those ladders. And so I'm really looking at it from a standpoint of why is it that I want to do this? Could I dream? So what could I do to do this? What could I do to really get this vision out there? And then how do I do it? So it's a cascading up. And then if you look at it, now these are a little bit smaller, so I'll read it to you. You start at the bottom, and it's this nebulous, the chaotic, the facts, the anecdotes, all of the things that are swirling around it. It goes up a level. It's a little bit abstract, but it's still, you're starting to assemble the pieces to it. And then when you go up to that next level, it's the particulars, it's defined, it's specific. And so essentially what you're doing is you're taking this, going back to the very first triangle, the insight. The insight is, this is a necessary solution for the world and I have it. The next thing is like, here's an idea on how I could communicate that in about 40 different ways. This is the brainstorming session. As I talk about it and I work through it enough, there's going to be something that starts to boil out of that that's going to be the best piece to it. And then I bring that into execution. And I think you should have that process in your world whenever you're creating any kind of collateral, whenever you're creating any kind of advertisement that's going to go out for your voice, right? If my voice is going out into the world, I want to make sure that it has its voice, that it has its tone, that it has its volume, that it has its care, that it has its culture. And the way I do it is to be able to take that insight, move it into the idea, and then execute it. So the why, the what, and the how. I truly love what this means. If we take it from, I'm just going to do enough or copy enough people of what they're doing really well, to I'm going to be specific about my own mission, vision, values, and create the life by design that I desire, so that then the product that I created and who I think I am is coming to fruition in every single thing that I do. Okay, so moving on over here into the next thing, I want to read you this quote. So it may not be big enough on your screen. If you're experiencing this on a phone, I'm going to read it to you. It says, creating mass intimacy. How do you get a single message to resonate with 1 million people from different countries, socioeconomic backgrounds, and cultures? First, it's important to understand what you want to see when you look at an ad, and maybe even, and more importantly, what do you not want to see? You'll always be the best case study for what does or doesn't work, meaning mass intimacy starts with you. I wanted to really open that box up. If mass intimacy starts with me, my voice is very, very, very important. And I need to understand and define my voice. It has this vein, right, that goes back into mission, vision, values. And it's more clarity on why values is so important. If I create the voice of my business and I'm going after the clients who are in that in that value section, I should truly have a very defined values statement, so that everything that I do is absolutely pointing at that meaningful life that I have. So that then when I come back to that very first thing that I said in the beginning, be something that you want to share. Well, if my advertisement is going to hit the masses and it's just going to be a voice, is it going to be noise that people ignore, or will it be something that has more of a cause and a care behind it? These are the ways we should think. when we're thinking about our business. So often we caught up in the busyness of what we're doing, and we forget that all of this is intentional, that we have a desire. And for so many of us, our businesses entrepreneurial start with a passion. And once they pick up a job, they start to realize how difficult it is to own a business. And that passion begins to wane. And we've got to find ways in which we can continually inspire us. And again, this isn't a mission, vision, values class, but if it is advertising, creating my voice, I should have my voice defined. Okay. All right, guys. I want to move into the social media aspect of it. So many of us will be looking at and advertising predominantly in the social media world. And one of the things that these guys talk about is you've got to be able to create the story, and you got to create it fast. And so they have this little exercise about how to create a story in 30 seconds. Okay. And this is how you create a story in 30 seconds. 1, start with the end. 2, map out every second. And 3, sketch it out. It's as simple as that. 1, start with the end. I want to tell a story about how I provide excellent customer service, and that should be a value proposition for anybody who wants to experience my business. Well, if I want to really create that as an advertisement, or I want it to pop into my social media feed, it should be in video form. More than likely would exist in your stories, although you can put it in your feed if you want. And if that is true, I need to put some thought processes behind what do I want it to end with. I want it to end with them seeing that I care. Well, that's my ultimate goal. The content should drive towards care. So then now, how do I map out every second to point towards care? The words that I use should point towards care, and I should practice those words so that now, as I bring my message to the table, I am bringing it very lined up with specific, this is how I want you to hear what I have to say. And then you chunk it down, and you chunk it down, and you chunk it down until it is even less than 30 seconds, so that then your content has some buffer on every edge, so that then you're not just bleeding into a cutoff. We should be mapping these things out. We should be taking this advertisement side of things so specifically and so seriously to be my voice of my business, that regardless of where I'm at, my presence is known because of the way I put my voice into the world through advertising. All right, I could be asleep at 2 a.m. and somebody could come experience something that I've put out there in content, and they will absolutely see, hear, feel, and be present with me, though I am not present with them. This is what advertising has the capability of doing for us in our world and in our businesses. How wonderful would it be that you could have a 24/7 voice speaking out the absolutely what you want out of your business, and it can continue to grow in your sleep, in your vacations, everywhere you are. Your business is always speaking. I think that would be phenomenal. I think it would be brilliant. I think that's our goal. I think that's what we want. Okay, start with the end, map out every second, and sketch it out. This doesn't mean that you have to be a brilliant drawer. I don't even know if that's a real word, drawer. Like, you can literally sketch it out in a time frame. Here's 0, here's 30. At 0, I need to say this. At 10 seconds, I need to have this photo. By 20 seconds, I need to have already finished that photo so that I can fill in the last bit with the voiceover that I have for that picture. Whatever it looks like. I think it needs to be more detailed, but for the sake of not taking too much time to sketch something out, like, we have this as our opportunity to make a story that makes sense to the world, that is my voice, that's not just a random me walking through space. It's my voice, my values spoken into the world, and that now I can go after the people who experience it, who want to interact with me. So I've put my something I want to share into the world, and I gain the people who want to share back with me, the reciprocation of it. Okay, guys. All right, here's my parting thoughts. Okay, have a strategy. It's the very first thing. Have a strategy. We fire, aim, shoot, or however you put it on, like, right? It's supposed to be ready, aim, fire. We like fire, ready, aim. We're doing it all backwards and all willy-nilly. We have to put strategy into our world. It's necessary to slow down long enough to put the strategy in place. To just do is like playing the lottery with our businesses. It's like playing the lottery with our life. We have to be strategic about what we're doing. Second thing here is you have to change. You change, right? You change. So if you are changing, so does your business. Think about who you were 2 years ago. If if I think about who I was 2 years ago, it's nuts. Like, I've changed so much in 2 years. If you've changed 2 years in too much, your business is probably evolving as well. And if my business is evolving and I haven't drawn that line as clearly as I possibly can, then it is going to be muddy, and I am going to be speaking out of two sides of my mouth. I have to be able to create a voice that is moving with my business. And the way I create that voice is always to be rooted in my mission, vision, values. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that your mission, vision, values changes. Those things can still be true. But the way in which I interact with the world and the way in which I speak my voice 100% will change. And so as your business changes, as it adapts to the world, so should your voice. You have to always be refining who you are. This is a normal process in our life, is to do postmortems, go backwards and look at, what have I done? How's it happening? What's the benefit? Where's the return? What can I change? What can I tweak? What can I make better? How can I leverage things? Like, we should be doing these kind of things with every element of our business, but absolutely with our advertising. Be a consumer of good advertising, and then repeat. Be a consumer of good advertising, repeat, and then be a good consumer of advertising, and then copy. All right, go be consumers of good advertising. There's no challenges with looking at the people who are your competitors who are doing it better than you, and looking at what's happening, and then be the plus one. Be the plus one in those spaces. How can I go in, see what's happening in the world, figure out what they're doing really well, replicate it, and do a plus one. Replicate it and do a plus one. I think great ideas are swirling around there all the time, and people are grabbing them all the time. Think about how many times you've thought you've had a very unique, one-of-a-kind idea, and then all of a sudden you see somebody else doing it. So what would have happened if y'all were doing it at the same time, or if you copied somebody's great idea and made it a little bit better? I don't really see a difference, and I think it can really help you, especially if you're paying attention and watching pop culture. Humor drives a lot of advertisement really well, okay? The last thing is to understand the difference between advertising and marketing. We call marketing and advertising the same thing. Marketing is the mothership. Advertising is a piece of your marketing. Your marketing mix should look cohesive and have clarity. This is absolutely necessary so that then as we scale our businesses up, we're not lagging behind in any element. They all go up with us. If I merge marketing, advertising, and all that good stuff together, and I believe they're the same thing when they're not, it will be hard for me to separate them when I need to leverage it at a high level. Take your marketing mix, make it a plan, understand which elements are doing what, and especially in your advertisement, like if you're looking at your advertising, you should have a system, a process, a design, a voice, a brand behind everything that you put out there. And if you do that, it'll make going forward much more simple. Taking enough time to strategize our businesses makes everything that much more simple. And so I hope this helps you guys. I hope it brings a little bit of clarity in what you need to do. It probably just stacked up your plate a little bit more. And yet, if you get a system of creating, like when I sit down to advertise or sit down to do my advertising bucket, this is how I do it, and this is the direction that I'm going. Like I can knock it out because I've systematized it. Okay, so it's just taking each of those chunks and putting a system behind it. And so my hope, my goal, my desire for you is to have such strength around every element of your business. Thank you for letting me segment advertising and dig into that. If you guys ever have any questions or comments, by all means, you're welcome to message me and get out to me. mvv@randyolive.com. You can find me on Instagram. You can message me there at Randy Olive. You can find me on Facebook. I'm at Mission Vision Values over there. And I'm here on YouTube. So by all means, click subscribe. Be part of this community. I really want to make sure that I can be the personification. I want to be the guy who's championing the cause of that whole cliche phrase that a rising tide raises all ships. That's my hope. That's really what I want to be able to do. So, all right, guys, if y'all need anything ever, by all means, reach out to me, call me, message me, do whatever you need. Get in touch with me. My goal is to make sure that I can help out in any way that I can. So thank you again for being here. Before I shut down and close this feed, any questions or comments out there that are just kind of sitting around, I'd love to be able to help bring any insight, or even if you guys have, there's some of you are much smarter than I ever will be, and I welcome your comments into this space so that then we can all grow and learn together. Almost cut my finger off. All right, guys. Well, if there isn't anything, thank you again for coming. By all means, help me out. Subscribe. It'd be great. Love to see you guys. Nancy, thank you. It's good to see you. That just made me smile. I love seeing your voice pop in there. That's awesome. You're welcome, Nicole. Nancy, I love it. I miss all of you guys. This is fun for me, obviously, but I miss the human interaction a little bit. I want to have a pie competition again, a guacamole competition, some sort of food competition. All right, guys, y'all are amazing. Go out, do great things, love on people, share your joy.